Morning. Okay, I'm going. I'm gonna turn it off right now. Would you feel rejected if I did that? What does it feel like to be rejected, and what is the flip side of that? Because everything exists on a spectrum. Good morning. Everything exists on a spectrum. You can't know rejection until you know acceptance, to be able to relate one to the other. Everything exists in intellectual concepts, always exist like that. There's a freedom in acceptance, feeling like you're free to be who you are and you're accepted that way. I'm okay, you're okay. Is that how you grew up with the psychology, Dr. Spock, was it? No. Or is that the guy that's like, nanu? I've been getting some criticism. Okay, that's a feeling of rejection, but there's an empowerment in the rejection, in the criticism. I've been getting a few criticisms. One, some guy tells me, I don't know, some criticism of being a Hollywood rabbi and don't speak to me. I think he meant like, oh, okay, I'm into, I don't know what he meant by Hollywood rabbi, but I think he meant someone that references Hollywood things, which is like, you should reject that, right? So I think that was his point. And then maybe he was admitting to having that resonate with him. So he says, don't talk to me. You should devote, tells me I should be on time for a minyan. Okay, this is not a guy that's on time for a minyan. So he's telling me I should be on time for a minyan. Jesus, I don't know if he knows what time I get up in the morning, but okay. What do you want from my life? So the criticism there is that I should worry about making Hashem happy and not speak to people. Okay? I got the same message from another person recently also, like within a day. I was told, it was a guest in my house, I was told, if I understood correctly, and to paraphrase, don't think you could change a community. Be a part of the community. So I'm not trying to totally ridicule this notion. When you go somewhere, don't feel like you have to assert yourself, but listen to others. I agree, in a social environment, yeah. At a for-bringing environment, I don't think so. I think if you have a genuine for-bringing environment, you have people asserting ideas, and if one person feels he has an important message, I think he should speak. And if someone wins the audience, I think that's fair play. It's like if you want to have a wrap-off, I think there's a holy wrap-off. I think that if you really cared about what's important, you would find a leader that would say, I want to speak, and if you don't want to hear me, throw me out. I'm happy to leave. I think that's, when the Kamsa is getting thrown out of the party, or Bar Kamsa rather, whichever one, he's getting thrown out of the party by the host. His Bar Kamsa. The Rabbanim there didn't say anything. They didn't want to ruffle anyone's feathers, take a stance. That's not the kind of leadership that I think is worthy leadership. A person has to be humble enough to know that his ideas are worthy of being voiced. That's a humility. That's the premise for true leadership. The flip side of a rejection, or what rejection allows a person to have, is a certain freedom of acceptance, mostly starting with yourself, with your mindset. Free your own self, saying, I accept myself, right? The balabatiskite over your life is knowing yourself. So I had this criticism that I can't change a community. I have to be a part of a community. So the community is this decaying entity that no one can introduce any vibrancy. I mean, can you imagine the times when the Baal Shem Tov was around? Do you think that he would just sit in a corner? He wanted to sit in a corner. God didn't want that of him. He illuminated the people. Like, I saw him at this Yao perform in front of like 20 people. He was electric, okay? No? Before he was famous. A person that is destined for greatness isn't a great person, and he has a voice, and you should let him speak, or you should be worthy of getting thrown out. I said it as an editor. If I don't have enough fire to stand up for what I believe in, then I'm worthy of being fired as editor. If I'm not worth risking getting fired for what I believe in, then I'm worthy of being fired. Something like that. I don't know. Anyways, so why am I speaking about rejection? Today's Hayom Yom for Yud Elul speaks about this concept in the context of where it appears, which is a fascinating thing. We've had this theme actually yesterday too, I think. I want to read this to you. But before I do that, I want to talk about a couple classic situations of rejection in the Torah. One is Shuvim Bonim Shevim Chutz Me'acher. There's a story of, the Gemara cites a related story the sages taught. There was once an incident involving Acher. Do you know, have you heard of Elisha ben Avuya, known as Acher, the other? You know, he got that name in an interesting way. Checking that out. He was riding a horse on Shabbos, and Rabbi Meir was walking behind him to learn Torah from him. So you're not allowed to ride a horse on Shabbos, right? You might come to take a branch and smack the horse. So you're uprooting that branch, okay? The Chachamim were worried about everything for you. So you didn't have to think about it. You could just enjoy God. Just do what they say. Because they know. They spent their whole life doing it. So he wasn't allowed to ride a horse on Shabbos. Why was he doing it? Because he felt rejected by God. He witnessed an incident once whereby a child was doing the two of the mitzvahs that are supposed to extend his life. His father told him to get him some fruit from a tree or something like that. Acher was watching the scene with another sage. So the kid climbs up the tree, doing as his father told him, to get him a fruit or something, doing the mitzvah. Was it Kibud Av? And then, he had to do Shluch HaKan. Right. He told him to, I think it was Shluch HaKan. He had to cast away the mother bird in order to take the eggs. Wasn't this? So he's doing two mitzvahs at once that are both said to extend your life. L'man yuba yumecha, or something like that. The two mitzvahs at the same time, and the kid fell off the ladder and died. So Acher saw this and he felt rejected. He said, where's God in that? He couldn't understand. So this is all about going beyond your understanding. There's a freedom in doing that when you have faith. There's a freedom of that. There's an acceptance of your path. That's the opposite of rejection. So what is Acher all about? Listen to the story. So he's riding his horse on Shabbos, and Rabbi Meir is walking behind him to learn Torah from him. After a while, Acher said to him, Meir, turn back. Tells him to return, okay? What's the words in Hebrew? Chazar la'acharecha. Go back. La'acharecha. Get away from me. Get away from Acher. But okay, go back to where you were. Get back to where you once belonged. Why? After a while, Acher said to Meir, turn back, for I have already counted, and measured according to the steps of my horse. The Shabbos boundary ends here. He knew where the Tchum Shabbos was, because he was counting the steps as they were talking about some lofty topic. Because Rabbi Meir he sifted through the words of Acher, this sage that became corrupt, or dejected, became cynical, became a hedonist, became an informer. But he knew a lot of Torah, and Rabbi Meir was able to distill that from him. And they spoke in riddles. Rabbi Meir turned back. Get away from Acher. Chazor la'acharecha. Get away from Acher. Chazor, get away from Acher, me'acharecha. Okay, that's a drasha. But he's telling him to return. Okay, don't hang around me. I'm bad for you. I'm going out of the Shabbos boundary. He says, you can't. You have a home with God. I don't. He felt rejected. And he's so wise that he's able, while talking, to be able to count the steps. According to the steps of my horse, that the Shabbos boundary. Okay. The mayor said to him, you too return to the correct path. He suggests to Acher, his teacher, this heretical teacher, that he can return, he can go back to God. He said to him, but how have I not already told you that I've already heard behind the dividing curtain, chutz me'pargoid, ma'achere ha'pargoid, he heard. The same word, acher, right? Ma'achere ha'pargoid, from that chazor la'acharecha, acher, ma'achere ha'pargoid. It's all the same word. It's fascinating. It has this idea of being rejected out of the pargoid, the intimate zone. He heard from within the intimate zone. What did he hear? That I've already heard behind the pargoid, from the curtain that separates me from the king, return, rebellious children, apart from Acher. He says, Shuvu bonim shevavim, chutz me'acher. Acher has no chance. He's rejected. It's like the Eliezer ben Dordaya. He was told that he had no chance. He was like gone with the wind in every sense of the word. Look up that story. That's a great story of rejection also. Then there's an amazing story I heard in a more spiritual context. Well, relating to feeling rejected from God, okay? Because a person wanted to be blessed. Is anyone here? Okay, here's someone. Someone wanted to be blessed with children. There are people who are barren and they're not able to have productive lives whereby they see their vision of beauty and progeny, the generations, a beautiful story of history unfolding, and they're being a part of it throughout history. The blessing of having children. He felt, after so many years, he needed a blessing from the Rebbe. So he goes to, I think it's the Rebbe Shab, goes into Rebbe Shab, and Rebbe Shab ignores him, does not. When he asks for, he blesses him in general, but when he asks for blessing for children, he doesn't address it, or the idea is dismissed. So he goes out feeling rejected, and he's sobbing. And I think it was the Rebbe Shab's brother, Reb Chaim, I don't remember, who came to this man who was crying in tears and asked him what was happening. So he tells him to go back, if I remember the story correctly. And he says, well, why would I go back? It was just rejected. I'm paraphrasing. But he says, because if he really wants something, he should go for it. Something like that. I can't remember what he told him. He just somehow convinced him to go. And he was succeeded. He got a bracha that time. And the question is why? What changed? But the idea was, originally, why was he rejected? I think the story goes that the Rebbe Rashab had envisioned that this person had like 2 out of 3 of the B'ni Chayim Azeni, the 3 things that cover all your needs in the world. Children and everything to do with that. Chaim, health and life, and Azeni and sustenance. Banim is children, life, like in that sense, generational. Chai, life, health. So you have children, life, and Mazaini, money, things you could consume. That comprises the whole. So if he was he was worthy of having like health or something like that, and not children, but in wealth, and he would lose everything, or something like that, or he would lose his own life if he was to have children. So the Rebbe Rashab didn't do that, and through a broken heart for being rejected, that accomplished the ability to change his own destiny and allow him to have success in every area. There's this idea, God wants a perfect world. A perfect world is going to unfold through, just doing Torah mitzvahs, doing what Hashem wants in the world. It's a very simple thing. You have to romanticize it in a way because it sounds so simple. But so that, therefore, you have to relate to it. We said yesterday, the whole Baal Shem Tov, you have to learn from everything you see and hear in your experience, in your perception in the world, your experiences in the world. You have to learn what you see and hear. He specifies those two senses. Why? Because those are most identified with your whole life, and they're the most associated with pleasure in the Hasidic viewpoint. Life and pleasure, I guess, are the same spectrum in a deeper sense. It's about pleasure, the essence of life. I always say, you want to be healthy and feel really alive, you'll be bordering on ecstasy just from that alone. That, if you believe that, if you know that that exists, that's very empowering. To know that there's such a treasure. We spoke about a treasure. That is a treasure chest that's right there in front of you. And all you gotta do, bring Mashiach. People you would say, like, oh, when Mashiach comes, like it's something so distant. The Rebbe says it's miyad, okay? So how do you explain it? How can it be? We're gonna have a throne? Yeah, okay, the Rebbe says that too. It's good. Mashiach's gonna come, v'hananei hakavod, v'hananei shmaya rather, the clouds of heaven, immediately, achishena. It's going to be swooped out from heaven and we're going to have a king on a throne. Yeah, it could be that way. But I found sources that since we've come this far along in Gullus, and I'm not prepared just to sit back and ignore looking at the signs and looking at the treasure chests, opening up those treasure chests of secrets that the Rebbe hinted at. The Rebbe says, and I showed you where, that it begins with the individual. So that, to shirk that responsibility, to reject that is a rejection. You don't want it. You want to be accepted. You want to be empowered. Don't reject that. That's the mission we have to do. That's the thing that we have to be charged with the spirit of Eliyahu and Navi. That's the whole progenitor of the Geula. The redemption is dependent on his heralding it, meaning to get us excited about it. And if people aren't doing that, get leaders who are willing to change the community, to be the Hollywood rabbi or whatever, even if that means drawing on his experience, the things that he saw and he heard. Chas v'shalom. Ignore that and speak to people that also. So I shouldn't corrupt people. Yeah. If my whole point is to like promote Hollywood, I should be getting what do they call it? Royalties. I should be getting royalties. I'm not, okay? Nike does not. I know my shoes, they don't say Nike. But if they did, I'm not getting sponsored by anybody. So rejection, I gave you a few sources. There's one more source I want to say, one before I get to the Hayom Yom, which is fascinating if we ever get to it. I've told the story before, I'm just going to say it very briefly. Balas Tshuva girl, apparently, or maybe just a crazy girl, or a wild girl, a really free girl. Because let's say you're a free person, you want to everyone should accept you. No, you got to be willing to be rejected. And who's rejecting you here? It seems like the Rebbe, but obviously not. Obviously, the Rebbe's accepting the way that you just got to know the right way. That's why the Rebbe said she pops out of the bushes, so to speak, or maybe literally. The way I heard the story is literally, she's like waiting for the Rebbe at his household or something like that as he's coming back for his Pesach Seder, Passover Seder. And she invites herself over to the Rebbe's house for Pesach. And the Rebbe says nicht unser Minhag. It's not our minhag for people to invite themselves over to the Rebbe's house for Pesach Seder. To the Rebbe, everything's Torah. Minhag Yisrael Terahi. Torah, whichever the grammar is. Shalom. So if the Rebbe cites a source in Torah where it says, it's not a minhag. He says it's a minhag. That's the minhag with the Rebbe. You don't invite yourself over to Moshe Rabbeinu's house. That story I thought was wild. I don't even really understand it, but I'm trying to. I think this is one that's a little bit of an insight. So there's a rejection that comes from a holy place, and you know what? You could learn from your rejection. You could allow yourself and accept yourself, your experience in life. Accept that it's an empowering thing. You accept. Sometimes when you're rejected, that means you're supposed to move on to something else. Let's see if we can get insight from the Hayom Yom that I made into a coloring book. But it's like a rambling story, I think. I'm gonna just try and read it inside and I'm gonna kick back a little bit, okay? I think this is a letter of, okay, why don't I highlight that always? I think it's the Frierdiker Rebbe, okay. Yeah, well, that's what it seems to be. He's writing to someone regarding the students of Tamim Timimi, the Lubavitch Yeshiva, who want to go into Yechidus. Ve'ena mekablon. And I'm not receiving them, I'm not accepting them, I'm rejecting them. I don't want these students to come to me. It's a flat out rejection. This is a letter to Rabbi Baruch Friedman, Polisher. He's a Meshpian Tamim Timimim. Why doesn't it tell me simply who wrote the thing? I don't know. It's got to be the Frierdiker Rebbe. It's almost always the Frierdiker Rebbe here. So he's writing this rabbi, okay, that he's not accepting their students for Yechidus. Yechidus means they're going to go in a private audience with the Rebbe. It's like the Rebbe disciple moment. But the Rebbe rejects them. And he writes that they're very disheartened about it. And they're very affected by this. Remember, we said that that's the way you really reach someone? So listen to how the Rebbe justifies rejection. This rejection. It's going to take me some time to say that it's still a little bit early. So hang in there. So if it matters, they have to do something. They have to communicate this. They're missing the point of what they should be concerned about. Later it says, the kol inyanam hu rak liyafes es achitzenius. All they're cared about, all they're concerned about is to like make sure their tie's on straight. Okay, or whatever the analogy is in Shiva world. So the Rebbe's rejecting them, but they're missing the point of why the Rebbe's rejecting them. He's not accepting them for private audience. Tanis Nais Shel Hamidrach Adrichim Al-Sibas Hader Mesirov and Etino Mitzad Hamakablim. Maybe the word is not being communicated effectively to these students, or maybe the students are not really doing their part to take it to heart, or maybe both are being a factor. Biz kach ubein kach chasra dracha pnimis d'chassidus Chabad. They're missing the inner path of Chabad Chassidus. And since that's so, the Rebbe rejects them. They're just doing it superficially. So in this context, we get this whole idea of what Yechidus is. If you're rejected from Yechidus, what is Yechidus? What does it mean to be yichud with someone, in someone's presence, to really be present in someone's world? To be Yechidus where it's just you and you. Yechida liyachadach. It's the moment of the essence talking to the essence. In this context, Chassid Rebbe, the Rebbe is your channel to God. I believe the Rebbe is sensitive to everyone. Why? Because the person who brought me to the Rebbe was told by the Rebbe to continue going to college. I've had people criticize me. We're talking about rejection, right? And criticism, which is not necessarily rejection, might be an embracing also, of sort. And that's what the Rebbe is really doing, right? When you're thrown out of the Rebbe's Yechidus, when you say he's not going to get the bracha, the person's brokenhearted. He prays to God. You don't give up. You walk in. You walk in, lifnai v'lifnim. You go in again a second time, brokenhearted. God cherishes every person in every area, in all three. Ni, chai, mezayni, all three areas God cherishes for his precious. Right? Are you still feeling like a precious? I was speaking about that before. I think it's so important. That's what Yechidus is. What is the opposite of rejection? If you want to understand rejection, you have to understand being embraced. If you want to understand what it means to be embraced, maybe a person has to undergo rejection. Maybe there's something to be learned by that. And in fact, maybe that's something that changes one's destiny. If that's what God wants, God will have his way. God's unfolding a beautiful narrative. Be a part of it. That is Mashiach. When you open up the nitzutz of Mashiach in you, the fire in you, when you be all that you can, we don't hear those voices that tell you, you can't change a community. That's not even friendly. That's arrogant. That's arrogant to change a community. Sit there like not a sheep. I mean, that's the flip side of it. If you're wrong about this idea, that's what you would become, right? About paper mache man. But if you're right about it, it's a sensitivity and a listening and an openness to hear other people, to allow other voices. And a really crazy leader, a crazy person, or thinks that he's a leader, or a person that's unworthy maybe, is the person who's rejected. He speaks up because he has to. It's important to him. Does anyone care? Are we rejecting the Rebbe's message completely? So here, the Yechidus moment, when you care about what's important to the Rebbe, and you're going to use all the tools at your disposal, all your ingenuity without listening to anybody, to be that lion that just walks in the face of criticism, getting stronger like a fish swimming against the stream. That's the fire. That's Eliyahu and Navi. When you're pursuing what you think is it's really the truth of you, the nitzutz of Mashiach inside you. Not to be arrogant, chas v'sholem. And you know what? The litmus test, you won't succeed. People will put your message down. They might put you down. And if they put you down, that is rejection you should be happy about. You should be proud to be put down for your superficialness. We embrace Chabad. Good morning. The pneumius, that's what it's talking about here. That's the whole premise for Yechidus. You want to be a whole person? You go into your connection with God. Harei ani omed bein Hashem ubein neichem. I think that's the verse. I'm standing before you today as your adjoining emissary to connect you to God. Standing between you and God. What do you mean between? Connects. So Yechidus means through the Rebbe. You want to connect to the essence of God? That's Yechidus. And if you don't like that, you interpret this in more connecting with something important to you, or a person that's important to you. So what does it mean to embrace someone? To really accept someone? What's a healthy relationship? What's Yechidus? What are you bound to your master? Someone you have so much respect for. How do you treat them? It says, Bader Rishon, the first generation of the great Chassidim, Chassidei Haid, Kveit Bushas Avinu Harishon Rabbeinu Hazaken, the disciples of the Alter Rebbe, the first Lubavitcher Rebbe, Hayamrim Asher Tevis Yachidus, they came up with the saying. The word Yachidus, to bond with someone intimately, here in the context of master disciple. What does it mean, Yachidus? Harusham, Barar, Kavua, Uma'uchad. Having clarity, having it implanted and established in you, Kavua, it's a permanent fixture of your core, defining element. Mu'uchad in one. Describes what each means. I was blessed one time with clarity by someone who's important to me. They blessed me I should have a year of clarity on my birthday or something like that. I don't know exactly what the occasion was. Whenever you meet someone, it's an occasion. It's an occasion, it's an opportunity. When you meet with your Rebbe, it's a real opportunity. And to be worthy of that, or what is the expression of that? Or what's the purpose of that? It is to find clarity and to have a kavua and to be one. Okay, what does this mean? Shleisha Perushim Elu B'Tevis Yechidus Makerim B'Divrei Chazal. They all have sources in Chazal. He gives you a source for Barer. It comes from Shkolim. V'Yadu B'Yichud Shesham Ha'aron Nignas. They knew for certain. It was very clear to them that there the Aron, the Holy Ark, was placed, put away. Perish B'Yichud B'Birur. They knew. Here the word Yechidus means clarity. What is it, clarity? You know where the treasure is, and not just treasure. You see that the treasure is holy. You get that ability when you have Yechidus with the Rebbe, when you have a true bond with someone that's worthy of advising you. Someone you truly defer to, someone you totally respect. It brings to you a clarity. We have to be able to have this now, obviously, too. You tap into the Rebbe's teachings. That's our Yechidus, in my opinion. I'll have to look for a source for that. How do you achieve Yechidus now? It could be through writing, yes. I think it's through learning the Rebbe's teachings. That's what you're going to be just guided with clarity. So, but that's the moment of Yechidus. You know, other Yom speak about what a niggin is. What does it accomplish? What does it bring to a home? Light in the home. A niggin, a Hasidic melody. Can you just break out in song? Are you a person that introduces a melody to the room? Are you a worthy person that lights up an environment? That's what a chassid is. How do you become a chassid? Through Yechidus. It's the opposite of rejection. Here it's speaking about rejecting. The Rebbe was rejecting these students because they didn't work on what it really means to connect to a Rebbe, which means that you have to take the inner path described in Chassidus. Then you're worthy to go before the Rebbe and have a Yechidus with him, a Yichud with him. So one sense it means clarity. Now, what's next? Where's the source in the Torah? It's an inyan, a kavua, to have something established. Kahadam Amru, Yavamlis, tells you where. Ani Shemi Yuchad Ledibur, B'chol Shah V'Shah. I am the one who is designated as the speaker every time. Okay, there's a certain... This person called that an arrogance. When I was telling you that someone criticized me, said it's an arrogance to feel you have to speak wherever you are. I feel that it's an opportunity when Jews get together. If you have something that you feel is important to introduce to the world because the ideas are worthy, and therefore when you're criticizing yourself and not the ideas, that's like actually telling you that the ideas are right. That's the empowerment of it. So if you have a message that's important, it's worthwhile getting kicked out of the thing for. Let the host of the Bar Kochba event, not Bar Kochba, the Bar Kamsa thing, let the hosts, the hosting rabbis, the ones that they were dignified at the head of the table, let them be willing to risk getting thrown out of a venue to express an opinion, something that's important to them. The whole base of Mikdash was destroyed because of that. Sinas Chinam, for not standing up for another Jew. If they had done something, it would have changed the situation. Leaders have to stand up. If I have sources that say that you have to be excited about Mashiach, if people aren't excited about Mashiach, it's my obligation to stand up and say it's not just about making a good living. Because if someone's talking about that ad nauseum, you want success in the world, all this stuff. I mean, I've been at places like that. There's something important to do. We have a mission. You want success? I'll tell you. I'll give you a different recipe. Okay? So this guy's wrong. I have to say that. The recipe is reveal the nitzutz of Mashiach and devote yourself to bringing godliness into the world. I know people like this. I've seen they have a smile on their face and they ask my children questions about what they're learning in their cheder. That's beautiful. And they smile at another person. So a leader, I think, if he recognized that there's nobody there and he's waited years, nobody's listening to his silent voice, so he might have to actually pipe up and speak. And there's some environments you can't speak. Okay? I can't speak at my Shabbos table the way I just can't. The dynamic has not evolved in a way that I can actually speak. And it's like I speak every day for like an hour and I don't say like more than 2 minutes if I'm lucky. That's not, okay, there's a healing that's required there. The father is supposed to introduce Teichen to the table. He has to be willing to shut up if there's no Teichen that people can receive. You have to know when you're rejected. And just, you're right. You have to sometimes listen. Sometimes you have to listen just to be a person. But if you really have a message, it's worthwhile getting thrown out of something thrown out of the party of the bar kamsa, right? So kavua ani shem yuchad ledibur b'chol shah v'shah. I am the one that's designated as a speaker every time. I don't know. Look up the context there. It's in Yavamas. Zaf samach beis amanaf. Then it also means unity, and that's from Medrash Rabbah Bereshis. It says afilu b'shah sha'anu tasim anu makavim lishwasa shel Kadosh Baruch Hu. We should always have faith in the salvation of Hashem, okay? Even when you're being, I think, rejected. I think that says, afilu b'shah sha'anu tasim. I don't know what it means, tasim. Tushim. You can read it as tush. No, you can't. Anu makavim lishwasu shel Kadosh Baruch Hu. We have hope in the salvation of Hashem. And we unite His name every day twice when we say Shema, in the morning and night. I think it means when we give up, when we despair, we still have faith that God's going to be our salvation. So what does it mean? That's in the context, okay? Here the point is, Miyachadim Shmai, and I'm going to sanctify, I'm going to unify His name. When we say Shema, we say Hashem is Echad, Hashem is one, in all the worlds, okay? The 7 Rakim, and the earth, and the 4 dimensions, the 8 things, right? 7, the 1, and the 4. How many is that? 7 Rakim, the 8. It's a Ches, and then Daled. Aleph, the unity of God, and the Ches, the Zayin Rakim, and the earth, and then the Daled, Rabasi, the large Daled at the end, Echad. Not Acher, right? That's the rejection. This is what we accept. The acceptance is a unity. When you're accepted in Yechidus, you establish a unity. God's one in all the worlds, not just in heaven. We bring Him in this world. When He's sanctified in this world, we say Shema when we're being martyred because we're willing to die for God in this, to bring God into this world. So when we're thinking about Shema, Miyachadim Shmai, unify His name, that it shouldn't be just Hashem's Echad, Hashem in the future is everyone's going to call Hashem. Hashem Echad is Shmai Echad. The whole world, every human being, and every animal, plant, everything. It's all going to shine. It's all going to be glorious. Okay, and then he goes on. The point of Yechidus is to clarify a person's standing. Look, that's a moment to look inside and know whether you're living up to who you are. That's a clarity. Klar machen dem eigenem maven matzav haruchni, which is the whole Aveda of Elul, which is why it appears in a Yom Yom. To teach you that, you have to clarify who you are. The batishkeit over your home. To know that, who you are. And to establish, okay, this is the words here. Where we're getting, so we have Lavara Likbaya, you establish a manner of service, of getting close to God, in staying away from those things that you're supposed to reject. To reject all those things that are toxic. To get out of toxic emotional attributes like arrogance. So if you're the wrong type, if you're not the leader that's worthy, that is an arrogance, because that means you're rejected, right? If ultimately you're going to reject, if your message doesn't succeed, it stemmed from arrogance, and God's saving you from that ignominy. Is that a word? Dysnominy. I don't know the word right now. Okay, sorry. Someone's got to be my dictionary. Wonderful day to you too. Thank you for all the encouragement. It's awesome. So getting out of toxic environments here, and habits that are counterproductive to what would make you a good you. And to embrace, so it's the opposite of rejecting here. You push away the evil and you embrace the good. Get into embrace the ideals of positive attributes in you, the ones that you identify. You be honest with yourself. You know when you're a worthy person. To get closer to God through understanding God, through learning His Torah, and through Aveda, through bringing that concept into reality in your heart, through davening. So the third thing is to have a unity. So you attain this unity, to give over all your will to achieve a true unity with God, with what you think God wants from you, because that's your only path to God. How are you going to know what to think? Learn a lot of Torah. You learn a lot of Torah, you will know what God wants, the way God wants you to think. If you have one guy that's telling you, the Torah is telling you one thing and it does not resonate with you, it's your job to find someone that will speak to you in words that resonate with you. Or you be that voice yourself. If you're saying, you know what, I'm not happy with the way people are speaking of this Farbrengen. Obviously, if you're at a dinner party with your in-laws or something like that, you don't dominate the conversation. And there are laws of etiquette. But if you're at a Farbrengen, it doesn't matter who's hosting the Farbrengen. A Farbrengen is a sanctified meeting. It's not about who makes the best herring, who presents the best vodka, or who can command the most attention. It's who is saying words that are coming most from a place of purity and sense. That's the person that should speak at a Farbrengen. And if there has to be a duel, it exists. That's the way the world works. You think the Talmudic Chachamim of the Tanoim and Amoraim of the Gemara, the Talmud, you think that they would just sit down? They got up and stuck spears in the ground when they wanted to get their voices heard. And they threatened people to stab them in the belly with it. That anyone would be fit to if people deny that I'm saying this as tradition, they should be stabbed with a spear. People had messages that they think that are important for people to hear. They stood out and were willing to get thrown out of the place. There's nothing ignoble, I think that was the word I was looking for before. There's nothing ignoble in being thrown out of a venue. I think that's very respectable. If you're thrown out your magazine because you cared to have a vision, that's heroic. That's something you should be proud of. Rabbi Victon told me that when his teacher would smack him across the face, his father, when he came home from school, crying or whatever, his father would dance with him. You have a Rebbe that cares about you enough to voice his opinion in a way that you're actually going to listen to worthy and willing to ruin his feeling, the bond. That's how important it is for him to get his message across, that it will sting a bit. I mean, we don't do that anymore. I'm not saying you should hit your students. Chas v'shalom. I'm not saying that. But in a certain historical context, it existed, so you got to learn from it. Put things in the proper context. When the Torah says that women have intellects that are not developed as men's, or rabbis at least, or sages at least. And where do they come up with these brilliant ideas? First, that is a historical context. It means that they didn't develop their minds. They devoted themselves. I spoke to one the other day. There has to be a bit of trust in our coming, that they mean something that resonates in your time. So if you don't understand it, find words to understand it. Interpret the Torah. If they uttered words, those are words of a Divrei Elokim Chayim. It's done with Ruach HaKodesh, and it's the verbatim words of God. Okay? If it's done with an MS. If it was done with Ruach HaKodesh. If it's worthy Torah, the words themselves are important. If it's not worthy, so then you have to write a Torah showing how it's not worthy. The ideas have to not resonate with the rest of the Torah. There's a perfect system here. That's why if you know it the best, it's your obligation to have the dual that it describes in the Torah. I think in Gemara Kedushin it says about that when you have a chavrusa, you're in a duel. Why a duel? That's how you sharpen your swords for what you believe in, to fight for what you believe in. A rejection is an empowerment. An empowerment to either know that person's saying the truth. You better ship up. Acher, if he's being told that's chutz, you go chutz, you go out, achara pargod, you go outside the inner chamber. You don't belong here on the Harabayis, on Shabbos, on Yom Kippur. You don't belong here. He's being told. Chutz, you belong in the chutz. You're an acher. Here, there's someone that's pushed away and cast away and rejected. Either the reason they're either rejected is so that they could come back in a more shattered form, so you could put yourself together in a very pure, a way that lends itself to clarity and purity. That's the barer, the clarity that you attain from having yechidus, from trusting in a Rebbe, trusting in a voice that you value. Someone else who's has that Rebbe position in your world, someone that you have deference to, that you see the wisdom. If a person has certain patterns, you could expect that they will continue on them. That's what Acher says. I'm in such a pattern, I'm like Parai, I'm out of my control. My heart is in the hands now. I've gone too far, I'm chutz. I'm outside the pargud. I'm not in the inner chamber of Hashem anymore. I'm not worthy of that. That's a cynicism that results from feeling rejected. That's what happened to Yashke. Okay, look up that story. I don't want to get into that, right? Distasteful story. Acher suffered and he's back in the fold. Yashke, I don't know. So the Rebbe says the reason why these people were not received is because they're just putting on a good presentation. They're not taking it inwardly. They're just polishing. Interestingly, it says all we have left to do is polish the buttons in our Avodas Hashem. I guess if you haven't worked on the inner stuff, the wickedness, the thing that resulted in a 70-year exile, which are the very massive things, they were clear. It was easy to identify them and correct them. It took 70 years. Why are we 1,000 years in Galus Edom, this final exile? because it's more subtle. It's the chitzainis. When is it worthy to work on the chitzainis? When you know the insides are not living in the past of trying to have that I have to make the step. Is my heart in the right place? But am I at all on the right path? That after you've established your foundation that yes, I want a relationship with God, then you could work on polishing the buttons. The Rebbe says that the main avodah is done. We don't have that real work. Now, it's so hard to understand. I think that means that we have to recognize that we're on the shoulders of giants. When we do that, then we don't have to rely on any serious avodah to refine ourselves. It's going to come like the way that the Shifra Harufa is able to come up with brilliant svaras, articulate ideas, maybe not in the most poetic way, but that are brilliant ideas to save herself. And she does that easily. It comes easily to her. Why? Because you could skip. Why? Because it mattered to her. If it matters to you, you're going to get up on the shoulders of giants. Even if you are a little person, there on the shoulders of giants, you're higher than the giant himself, the Rebbe says. And your vision is further. You could see whether you're worthy to be the one that out of Fabringen is willing to pipe up and get thrown out. What's wrong with that? Have some message that you care about. Be free from the rejection itself, from the opposite itself. You're going to learn what it means to embrace who you are, to be a bias over your house, over your home, which is knowing yourself and determining whether it's worthy. That's the clarity you get from Yechidus with someone who's worthy to advise you. Determine with clarity. Don't take advice from people that you've seen patterns in their life that they do not stand up to the virtue of someone that's willing to guide you, who's precious and important. Find someone that you respect in all areas. Someone who's genuine and it's a pattern of behavior. People don't... Okay, someone's calling me at 10 o'clock. It's not to tell me that I have to pick up the food from the bris. Hopefully my son's delivering that to me because I was at a bris this morning. So mazel tov for Aryeh Berger. First bris, his third child. Anyways, thanks for joining me. I don't know. I'm going to take that as a sign that I'm meant to move on with my day. It's 10 o'clock almost. I didn't finish entirely inside. So there's two ideas. One of working on your Avodah for years. It's going to be a 30-year Avodah before you're worthy to walk into Yechidus. No, not 30. They worked themselves for years. They would prepare for it for so long before they felt worthy to hear. And then afterwards to implement what they're told, to nullify their will totally, to have the achdus of total nullification, to give yourself over completely. All your ritzanesav, all your will should be given over to what you vision as your path in life. Give over everything to that. But you be the one to ultimately, the buck stops there, the CEO, to be, if it's not your ideas, at least choose someone that resembles to resemble an angel of God, someone that you're going to give your life path over to. You'll see a pattern that you'll say, that's angelic. Then I think that maybe that's what it means. A pattern in their life. What's an angel? It's all about pattern. Ratzav v'shuv. Ratzav v'shuv, they're always in this rhythm. Sense the pattern, sense the rhythm of someone, to know the influence they are in your life. And if they're like a malach, someone who does it for godliness, who has that clarity, in the establishment, the kavua, the rhythm, okay? And then you have the achdus of the total devotion. So that's the person that you're willing to be devoted to. That's what you're worthy of, the yichud in the ultimate sense, the third sense, the achdus of devotion, of giving over your will to their ideal, because that's who they are. And it's recognizable in that, like the rhythm of their life. That's someone you should accept, the opposite of rejection. But here I just wanted to sum up and just say, everything has to be an empowerment, even a rejection. So if it's for someone, if you see that yourself as an acher, an elul, you come up to the grand summation that you're an acher, then bring yourself, you have to be willing to stand and go before lifnai lifnim, Not achar apargoi, but within the intimate chamber with God time, because God is now outside. He's in the chutz, he's in the sadeh, he's in the field to welcome you in. Even if you felt rejected in the past, even the acher in you could be, what is it? V'yesef li ben acher. The acher becomes a ben. Banim shevavim, the child of God, the precious of God. How would you hold your precious? How delicately would you hold? How much esteem and veneration do you have for your precious child? That's your relationship. That's the devotion that's accomplished through the yechidus, from intimacy, from caring about someone, how it's ultimately expressed by a deep caring in all levels. Okay, so I want to bless everyone with that for today's message. That should be more than just a message, but it should be a power that we take with us. These are meditations that are meant to be a power to take with you, so that these ideas should resonate. If they're not worthy, so throw it out. I want to be thrown out of the place if it's not worthy. But how am I going to know if the rejection is false and therefore I'm on the right path? If the rejection is ad hominem, if they reject the person and not the message, then take that as a source of power. If you stand for something that's unworthy, that will be the focus. That will deter you. Not that you smell. I was once told about Tshuva's smell. They had a raya from the base of Mikdash. There's a foul smell in the terrace. That was the Baal Tshuva. There's something that's going to be better if they put honey in it or something. I don't know. Look it up. There's like a bitter smell. Okay, that was awesome. So yes, you have to, Keteris is supposed to elevate that too, right? So when they're rejecting, it's ad hominem. If they have an idea, so argue the idea. And if they convince you, then it was meant to be. You go back. What do you say? Chashav. You have to go back, he tells. I was counting the steps. You go back. So let yourself be convinced. Be intellectually genuine and honest with yourself to know if someone's ideas convince you, and then just do it. It's obvious. But if they reject you, just say, I'm meant to go somewhere else. Have a great day, everyone. I hope that empowers everyone to do what's right always. Do what Hashem wants from you, because what's good for you is because be genuine. Look at things with clarity, and get that from, here I'm suggesting, from having a relationship with someone that you feel is worthy to enter into your mind, to have the affinity with. If you're going to hear someone's opinion, you value that person, the patterns of life, you see them as a malach. Okay, I think that's enough of a goodbye. But just, I hope to come with you in your paths, like these ideas resonate rather with you, and like to see that as a way that we are all connected. Anyone who like can listen to the same ideas has a connection. It's a soul connection, and I think it's worth getting thrown out of Fabringa, at least for. Not like tea with your business partners from China, or something like that. They're making a formal thing. You're not gonna start arguing with them. Talking about it for bringing. If it's a for bringing, no holds barred. Just don't call it for bringing. Call it a banquet speech thing. Thank you. Have a great day, everyone. Thanks.